Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Q&A where we take people's business questions and give our sort of advice and see if we can help them solve their issues. So this week we have another business question, of course, and this question reads, I'm thinking about opening my own business and I don't know where to start. Going to look for a business advisor on Monday and never done this before. Does anyone have any good guides, help, pages, or advice or info on where to begin? You've just come to the right place. So, we've got a whole bunch of things that you could take a look at, but I'm going to synthesize it maybe down to the next, or at least five important points that I think maybe you should take into consideration. Sorry. Ooh. The first point, validate your business idea through market research, right? So, whether or not this is your first business or even your third or fifth, right, it's important to start off by validating your business idea because you don't really know whether or not the thing that you're thinking of is something that applies to the world at large, your community at large. Really, it's important for you to find those little pointers or those indicators that actually speak to whether or not the business will be viable. So creating or participating in a competitive analysis to understand your competitors, right? Their pricing and gaps in the industry is a super important tool and part of the process of starting a business. This gives you the opportunity to see or even just give a, flat out layout of the rest of your industry, depending on where you're looking to get into, right? Whether it be in tech, maybe it's in clothing, maybe it's in software, it could be any of them, but you need to figure out what the competitors are doing, how they are catering to the customers, as well as where are they lacking, what are they not doing, or maybe not doing well enough. Because in those moments, in those sections, that's really where you can find the gap and figure out whether or not your business can fit in to help solve that. Really, it's about iterating on those smaller, on those smaller, less solved issues that maybe other businesses have not solved quite yet. And it might be because it's not a good business idea, or the reason for not creating that solution might be because it is difficult to do presently. And that also is important for you to find out, because sometimes you might decide you're doing the thing that no other business can do because you don't understand why they're not doing it, but they might have very good reason as to why they aren't able to do it. It could be the technology hasn't caught up yet to the idea, the concept. Maybe the need isn't as strong as maybe it once was thought, and maybe people just need something more basic, straightforward, and not really something that is fancier or is just there to deal with a specific portion or gripe that the customer might have with a service they're already using. So it's a very good thing for you to figure out how you find your customer through the comparative analysis. Another good thing that you want to do is create a buyer persona. This helps you define your target market, right? The age, the income, preferences, and a whole bunch of other demographic indicators that will let you be more specific about the marketing that you're going to be putting out, as well as what it is your customers have a need for. Not want, but what needs do they have, and how can you help facilitate that? That's a very important thing for you to create, or at least understand before you do anything else, because that will let you know whether or not this is a viable business, whether or not you might be wasting your time putting all the money, effort, right, and resources towards something that maybe the community at large don't need, but maybe yourself do things they do. So it's a very important thing for you to create, a sort of market research program, or at least a market research document that gives you a better understanding of the landscape. The second thing is drafting a lean business plan. It's super important for you and any other business owner to understand the business plan gives you sort of a compass in the direction that you want to go in. It speaks to the mission statement, which really is in essence the why Why is your business here? Why does why does the community need your business? As well as what will your business be doing, right? What are the objectives of your business? What will they help to facilitate? What will they help to alleviate? What is it that they are going to find purpose in? Those are things that you want to know for yourself before even going out into the world and maybe asking for funding or asking for support for your business. Because if you're unsure as to what your business is to you, the business owner, it might be a little bit more difficult for you to define it for other people. So it's a super important thing for you to take into consideration, right? The next thing is financial projections. You also want to make sure that you understand your financial projections moving forward. It might not be something you actually have full knowledge of right now because you haven't started the business yet. That's fair. But you want to actually sort of create a what if scenario, or at least see what your business at this present moment will be capable of within the first year, within 3 years, and then within 5 years. It gives you an understanding as to what your productivity potential is, and maybe even where you could even find improvements in your productivity. But really, you want to understand your break even analysis as well as the estimated costs. That's the most important thing about that financial statement. And the break even analysis is simply by an analysis that lets you understand where you need to be or what things need to happen for your company to put to get out the same amount of money that they're putting into a single product or service, right? The cost that your business will incur in order to produce and send to market, and then also market to a specific individual customer to the point where they are able to purchase or pay for the subscription. What that amount is that they've given you, right? You need to make sure you figured out how to get that even with the cost, at least even with the cost it is to produce and to send to that person. That is the break even. And thereafter, once you figured out your break even, you want to iterate to reduce your overall costs, find ways to reduce your overall expenses, because that way you start to earn profit. You actually start to earn on every product you sell and every service you sell. But you can only get there by understanding, how much things are costing now. You'll know that because once you start the idea of building your business, the first things that you're going to look at is what are the current expenses, the things that you understand that you need or you need, and working your way back from there to see what can I reduce, what can I lower in order to increase the margin of profitability, right? That's the important thing for you to understand. And the break-even analysis can also speak to when that might be. How long will it take you to get there to profitability? These things will be important for not just yourself, but also if you are looking to seek future investment, if you are looking for a big lump sum because the project or the business you've started is very capital intensive, that does require you to have a very concise or very thorough break-even analysis, as well as just a full financial statement that speaks to that. When will you start to make actual profit? Because that will show up to everyone else as to whether or not this is a viable risk, the risk that they are taking on giving you funding, as well as yourself. How long will it take for you to actually start generating a profit from this business? That's a very important thing for you to ask yourself, right? You also want to think about the marketing strategy that you're putting together, right? So you want to make your marketing strategy as lean as possible. In this aspect, you are speaking to people that you know, right? So for customer referrals, face to face, as well as using your socials to broadcast your messages, using YouTube like I am now. These are all important things for you as a business owner to think about, to utilize, and add to your business plan, because your very first years are super important for you to gain the public trust, to have them understand who you are and what they can get from you, right? Because that will make or break your business. As soon as you start, you want your marketing to show that you are here for the long haul, that you are here to help contribute to your community, but also you aren't really looking to spend too much on those aspects. You want to make sure it's as lean as possible. The freer, the better, right? Things that you can do, creating content, just like I am now, or even using things like TikTok or Instagram to help you uh, reach customers, as well as just increase that sort of marketing ability, your marketing base. The next thing I want you to think about is actually understanding the legal structure and financial requirements. Now, what that means isn't saying you need to get lawyered up, but it does mean that just because you've started a business, what sort of business structure are you going to set up? It's a very important question you need to ask yourself, because if what it is that your business does is, like I said in the previous point, capital intensive, it's a typically smarter idea for you to decide to incorporate or create an LLC, right? If you are starting a smaller business, maybe that is very community based and very personal, maybe dog walking, things like that, that can be a sole proprietorship or even a partnership. Those are the different types of business structures that we are talking about right now. By legal, I just really mean the business structure of your business. And this is a super important thing for you to think of, because it actually applies to not you right now or not your business right now, but your business in the future. What would be the most beneficial to your business as you move forward? Because a lot of things will apply to different business types, especially when it comes to taxes and financial requirements. What you are required to report, what you are required to pay back to your government jurisdiction, as well as what maybe you would be exempt from, as well as what you are eligible to receive because of your business structure. So like I said, a sole proprietor might find it a little bit more difficult to ask for vast sums of capital, because they are taking on all the liability. As a sole proprietor or a partnership, that is assumed that the individuals who are said to be, the owners of the business or the owner of the business is held 100% liable for any debts that the business may incur. If there are any business debts that are unpaid and are unable to be serviced by the business itself, then the individual who owns that business in sole proprietorship or a partnership is subject to servicing those debts instead. And that might be an issue if you know you are going to get into a very capital intensive um, um, occupation that needs a lot more capital. If it's in tech, a lot of the time that is a big thing and a big requirement. A lot of capital inflow really safety and guardrails. So an LLC allows that, because the liability is limited to only the company itself as well as the company holder, but not the individuals who run or hold the company as owners, because they are now exempt from the company's dealings. The company is treated as an individual themselves. So any debts or anything that have gone wrong, the company will then be liable for, and not the individuals. And that's a very good idea. If you are looking to get into business, I would even suggest anyone who is getting into business to move from a sole proprietorship eventually to an LLC, because you actually put yourself in a stronger position for the future if the business itself is looking to grow and expand. That's a very good thing for you to understand, and a very good thing for you to take into consideration. But all that being said, it's important for you to do some research to find the business structure that actually is appropriate for you. The next thing is leveraging free or low cost support networks. Being a small business actually affords you one of the best sort of characteristics, and that is being nimble. You are able to make changes on the fly every day, every hour, right? Every week, depending on what it is you are looking to invest in, putting your time and effort towards. If these are things that are inefficient to your business and or are taking more out of it than you are than it is giving for your business, so different smaller businesses that maybe be used for to improve inefficiencies, quote unquote, social media planning, sort of maybe CRM services. They might be things you take on initially because you want to improve your efficiency, but find that they actually help or hamper your efficiency. And as a small business, your best superpower is the fact that you can decide today, I'm cutting the salt, this is not beneficial for my business, I'm moving on to the next thing. Bigger companies find it a little bit more difficult because they maybe have signed on to long-term deals with another company. They've done training for that for the employees. The systems have all been converted for that. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for those businesses to make those changes, even though they might not be beneficial to the business as a whole. But as a small business, you actually have that benefit. You don't necessarily need to stick with one, and the world is your oyster. There are resources all over the place, on Reddit, on YouTube, this video perhaps, TikTok, all of these places with other business owners full of information that can be used to help maybe make your business more efficient, right? You're looking to find what are the best ways in order for you to improve your knowledge base. One of the things could be a mentorship. Mentors are typically very low cost, if not free. These are other business owners who are looking to help or pass on information that they have learned, because they might see you in that position and say to themselves, I really want this person to have an easier time than I have because I understand the stress and frustration of starting a business and not knowing where to go next. So mentorship is a great resource that every small business owner should take advantage of. That's a really free or good way, and it's not that difficult to find a mentor. If you take a look online, you can find people on, like I said, YouTube, TikTok, as well as people in your community. There may be local business owners who also maybe have that time that can contribute to helping you, maybe giving some advice. You might need to go down for a coffee, right? Introduce yourself and show your enthusiasm, because that's also something that's a very important thing for other entrepreneurs to see in you. If you want that help, a mentor typically would like to see that you yourself are very enthused about the business that you're in, or at least the idea that you are going to be doing something with this business. And that's when they'll really want to leap in and see if they can give you some advice that might help propel you to something even bigger. You can look at other things like local resources online, like I said, the library, even your city and or town. They typically will have services that help small businesses who are starting up, because you would typically need to register your small business in your city for your jurisdiction, or at least in your whether it is state or province where you may reside. And it's a super important thing for them to have full awareness of your business. And in doing so, a lot of business owners find it difficult because they're not too sure what they should be applying for, what they shouldn't be. And a lot of countries, a lot of cities have found this to be the case. So they offer services, or at least guidance, maybe resources online, or maybe even officers or associate people who can help you find out the different structures. Number one, like we spoke about, what funding you could be eligible for, as well as where you should start, right? What you should be selling first, maybe, or who you should be speaking to about selling or purchasing equipment, things like that. So local resources are incredibly useful, and something I do not think anyone should take everyone should be taking a look at that and not scoff at it or think it to be beneath them. Those are incredibly powerful resources. Other things like online communities, like Reddit, small business r/small businesses is a very good resource where you can find other business owners who are also speaking about the same things and issues that you are speaking about or having concerns. So take a look at those, because they are always there to offer better, or at least advice that might resonate with you, right? And then the last thing is, like we said in the earlier topic, you are small, so having that small start allows you to iterate, right? What we want you to get to is finding that MVP, your minimum viable product. If you can find your MVP, meaning you have done some research, right? You've done your market research, you have spoken with mentorship, you have created your business plan, and now you've started to actually sell your product or service. Now, in order to find your MVP, you actually need to be selling for a little bit, in which you are gaining feedback from your customers and actually noting whether or not the product or service that you are selling to is up to scratch, number one, but then also how much is it costing you, right? So you want to find your best seller, but you also want to find the best seller that costs you the least amount. So it's sort of like an apex, or in economics, it would also almost be a cross section, and that delta would basically represent your your MVP, the product that is that costs you, the most or least to manufacture and to market, and right, and to get to your customer, and that can actually offer you a profit margin and does the best for your business. So that is a super important thing for you to find, that MVP, because that will be your magnet that allows the rest of your product line or service line to piggyback off of it. And that way it can be, those are usually considered, extras or add-ons or alternatives. But really important for you to understand a MVP as a core product that actually goes hand in hand with your businesses as a whole. The MVP actually goes hand in hand with your business identity and your business brand, because it's the one thing that everyone will associate with your brand, the same way we associate original Coca-Cola with Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola itself has 1,000 other brands worldwide, but we understand its MVP at least to be Coca-Cola, right? Another example could be, you could be someone like Mrs. Debbie Fields, who owns Mrs. Fields Cookies, right? But she had started with free samples and figured out, how do I get the best flavor, right? And without spending the most. So she figured out the flavor being the chocolate chip cookies, of course, being the most delectable and delicious cookies, and as a result, made sure to reduce the cost to manufacture, to make sure this is the most viable product on that line, and thereafter expand to other products, because you can have almond cookies, you can have oatmeal cookies, you can have, like I said, a whole bunch of different cookies, fudge, a whole bunch filled, peanut butter cup, tons of cookies. But you have to make sure you have your MVP secured, your minimum viable product, um, so that way you can understand the scale in which you can expand your business based on the feedback that your customers give you. So I really hope that this has given you some insight into what it would take to start your own business. I swear to you, it's not a difficult thing. It's not anything you should be afraid of. It's actually super exciting. It's an incredible step that you'll be taking for yourself and the people around you. If that's something you'd like to create for not just yourself but your community, I definitely suggest getting involved in that. But outside of that, I do hope this information has help you or someone you might know who's looking to get into a small business. So, like, if you aren't the person who is interested in small business, definitely like or share this video to those who are interested, who have given you some interest in the future, because they definitely might benefit from something, the information in this video. But outside of that, thanks so much for listening and watching. I hope to see you next time. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.